Marketing is how you attract clients and potential clients to the top of your sales funnel. Without marketing, you're not able to begin the conversation with people that leads them to doing business with you. And it's essential that you have a clear marketing message that is communicated across a variety of platforms. Today, we're going to talk about social media marketing with Emma Tessler, who is the founder and CEO of 95 Media, a digital marketing agency. And Emma's focus is helping companies connect with their ideal clients through a variety of social media channels. And she's an expert in social media. And today we're going to talk about how commercial construction companies should focus their social media marketing efforts on an organic basis. So we're not talking about paid advertising. We're talking about organic advertising. Now, there's going to be a lot in here on strategies and tactics and techniques that you can use for social media marketing. And before you say, I don't have time for this, you really need to focus in on this as the CEO of your company, because I realize you don't have time for it, but someone in your company or someone outside of your company must take the time to go through the marketing effort if you're going to be able to consistently generate business for your construction company. So listen in, because this will give you insights that you can then use right away to direct your own people on how they should be doing the marketing in your organization. Enjoy my conversation with Emma. Share it with other people in your organization or across your network. And I appreciate you listening to Construction Genius today. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Emma, welcome to Construction Genius.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today.
In a world where commercial contractors are not awarded a project because of a cool cat meme on LinkedIn, what's the point of social media marketing?
I love it. It's such a great question, because oftentimes we look at social media as this form of funny marketing, random content, trends that make no sense. But what I would challenge you to begin thinking about social media as is actually a search engine. And the reality is, when you are submitting an RFP, when you're bidding on a project, you are getting searched by the companies that you're pitching. And while historically, we have always gone to Google and we find your website and we go there and we go through your content on your site, the shift that's starting to happen is that social media platforms are becoming the search engine that people are going to. And so Gen Z, millennial, older millennial, Gen X, right? They're beginning to turn to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn as their form of finding out more about a company, whether that's yours or your competitors. And the number one reason to really focus on your social media marketing and make sure that your content is more than a cat meme, but actually represents who you are, what you do, the projects that you create, the beautiful work that you produce, is so that you are showing up when someone is searching for you. And what they're finding is actually representative of the incredible projects that you produce, and that your social media can actually help you win more projects than if you didn't have a presence at all.
Okay, so I really like that framing. It's obvious, but it's not one that I've articulated myself, that social media is a search engine. And I think it's really important that people just lay hold of that right there, because again, you get to know a company, you're putting in bids, and they're searching for you on the internet, and they're using their social media to do that. Now, just be perfectly honest, I hear the word TikTok and my skin starts to crawl. I hear the word LinkedIn and I think dull and boring, but effective, because, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I have no interest in doing TikTok, but I admit that that's my problem, not necessarily the platform's problem. So the question I've got to ask then is, if social media is a search engine, where does a commercial construction company that is business to business, where should they be going in terms of different channels to begin to establish or grow a social media presence?
That comes down to a lot of factors. And one thing I would say when someone says to me, I hate TikTok. It's such a Gen Z platform. I don't want to be on video. That doesn't make any sense for my brand. What I would challenge you to think is, yes, maybe it's not the right platform for you and it feels weird for you. But even you just said it, Eric, is I know that's my problem, right? Like I know that that's just something I don't want to do. But even if you are bidding on projects and the person that you're speaking to across the table may be a bit older, right? And maybe they aren't really liking TikTok either. There are other people in the mix who get in their ear about that decision. And so there possibly are younger people on the team who are scrolling through TikTok on a Friday night and they're coming across this type of content. And then they bring it up at work on Monday morning and it becomes a part of the discussion. So when you're considering which platforms to really be active on, there's two big ones, right? So the first is, who is our target audience? Now, in the case of listeners today, our target audience are large construction companies that we're looking to win these projects. And yes, it's B2B, but again, you have people in the mix. Like we are all people at the end of the day. People are working at these companies who are making the decision. So that part of it is an element. There's another element of discoverability and really your goals for growth. Now, traditionally, word of mouth has been a really big way to gain new business, but that's shifting and that's changing. And we've seen that happen a lot, primarily over the past 3 to 4 years since the pandemic, right? And now there is such a big shift to social media bringing in a lot of business for you and that potential that lays there. And the truth is, if you're not tapping into that potential, your competitor is. And so that's one of the big reasons to really hone in on and dive deep into your marketing. But another element of determining where you should be is really your content bandwidth. As a company, how much time, human resources, projects do you have available to showcase through your social media? So who do you have on your team that can help you capture it? Who do you have on your team to strategize around the content that should be posted? And how many projects do you have that you can post about? Of course, there's NDAs that come into place, location, travel, things like that. So really considering what do you have that maybe you've captured in the past. Sometimes an issue comes up where, okay, in the past, we were only capturing photo content and now TikTok needs all video. So how are we going to accommodate and change our methods to meet these new demands? And so content bandwidth is often a very large determining factor in where you'll show up.
Okay, great. So let's talk about content bandwidth. I have a particular strategy that I use with my content creation where I can shoot a video that's maybe 4 minutes in length. I can get the transcript of that. I can turn that into a blog post, a Twitter thread, a LinkedIn post. I can even cut the video into sections and post like a 1 minute video on LinkedIn, or if I was on TikTok, it would be on TikTok. So is that what you're meaning in terms of being able to perhaps widen your content bandwidth? Because as soon as you start talking about that, again, I'm trying to bid work, plan work, build work, and get paid. And now you're talking about TikTok videos. And again, I start to feel maybe a little overwhelmed. So give us some insight there into how we can perhaps simplify and make it as effective as possible.
Definitely. There are a lot of different approaches to repurposing content. So I love that you found a method that works for you to pull slices from a long video. There are other trains of thought that maybe there are potentially better ways to approach it. So what I mean by this is, one method is having a core idea. So maybe your core idea is, just to go off the cuff, like 3 elements that you want to make sure you're installing in your commercial kitchen, right? And these are things that you know because you're in the construction industry and you are approaching these elements all the time.
Okay, hold on. Let me just stop you then, because this is really important here. What do you mean by a core idea? Is that for one piece of content? Or are you saying a core idea for a company?
Core idea for a piece of content. So from this core idea, what I would then recommend doing is you then create short form pieces of content that can be utilized on different platforms. So you may have one video. So let's say you're creating an Instagram Reels or a TikTok video. So you want it to be around 1 minute long. So you could create a video of you talking to the camera and you are explaining these 3 elements to have in a commercial kitchen. Now, on the flip side, what you could also do is you could utilize video content from commercial kitchens that your company has already installed. Like you've gone through the construction process, you've built them out. So now you have these video clips and maybe they're 20 seconds each. So 3 clips add up to 60 seconds. And then you record a voiceover on that video or pull the voiceover from your original video of you talking to the camera and overlay it on this video. And now you have a second piece of content of you speaking to the exact same ideas in a brand new way. Now, that's just video content. You could, of course, then take the same 3 ideas, write them out as a LinkedIn post. But what I will say about LinkedIn is that video content is actually performing really well on LinkedIn. So you may just want to utilize one of the videos over on LinkedIn. If you're going to then put it onto Instagram, it can, of course, live as a Reels, but you'll want to finish that editing differently when you post it as a Reel versus as a TikTok. So there are absolutely ways to repurpose your content and take this one core idea and turn it into a million pieces of content. Like that could be a podcast episode for you as well. So you can think about it as, how can I take this one idea and turn it into multiple posts? But what I would caution you against doing is copying and pasting between all of the platforms, simply because the algorithms are getting very smart. Their AI is reading the content and knows when it's been produced on a different platform. Hence why I recommend finishing your editing for Instagram and TikTok videos separately. But there are absolutely ways to make this easier for yourself. And it really comes down to, who do you have on your team to support you with? I don't recommend that the CEO is doing this on your own. You should really have someone, whether that is in-house, marketing department, or if you're outsourcing it. My company, 95 Media, we're a digital marketing agency, and this is what we do every day. We work with very large-scale companies who don't have the bandwidth in-house and are wanting to outsource it. So there are a lot of options to be able to bring this content to life and really market yourself properly.
Okay, so let me just take you to when you start to engage with a company. I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of companies have is separating themselves from other companies in a meaningful way in their marketing. And so, in other words, one GC is just like the other. You go to their website and everyone has an awesome team and we're all extremely happy. And Dave likes his dog and Sarah likes her cat and Fred likes drinking wine or something like that. How do you go about really finding your voice, your brand identity in a way that is not just meaningful to you, but also meaningful to the people that you are wanting to sell your projects to?
That's a great question. Brand voice is a really important aspect of your marketing. And it's something that should be clear before you begin marketing your brand, because you want to make sure that your brand voice is consistent at every touch point that a potential client has with you. So say you outsource to a social media agency. If you don't give them the brand voice and they create their own for you, it's going to feel very different than the brand voice you have on your website, maybe in your podcast, and maybe in your email marketing. So you really want to make sure that as an entity, you have brand voice clarity that you can then pass on. Of course, the way that it's brought to life on social media may feel different than in your email marketing or on your website, because social media is inherently more entertainment focused and should have a bit more of a, I would say, fun twist to it. There are absolutely guidelines, though, that should be followed based on your brand. Now, in order to utilize your brand voice in a way that connects with your target audience on social media, it's so crucial to be clear on who your market is. Who are we actually speaking to? So, for example, during our onboarding process at 95 Media, we have 2 main forms that we have every client fill out. And those forms are brand voice and ideal client. They are extremely important for anyone who is bringing your content to life to be very, very clear on, because how you speak and who you're speaking to determines everything. That should create your social media strategy, and it should be evident in the content that you're bringing to life.
Can I ask you a question about that real quick?
Totally, yeah.
Okay, one of the biggest challenges that people have with marketing is clearly identifying their ideal client. And the reason why is because a lot of contractors will say, well, I build for this guy and that guy and this type of work and that type of work. And because their clients are across a wide range of identities, or however you want to put it, they really struggle with picking one thing. So why is it important? And then as a result of that, their marketing message is diffused and doesn't resonate with anyone. So why is it so important to pick that one ideal client? And how do I go about doing that? How do I go about saying no to one voice and yes to another?
If your demographic of your target audience is changing that much, what I would then recommend that you tune into is what is important to them. Because you need to find that common thread between them. Do they all need to be like one gender or in one location or of one industry? No, not at all. But what is important to them should be that tie between all of your content. Maybe they really value having a team that is highly communicative, that they deliver everything on time, that they exceed deadlines, right? That would then be what should be really, really pushy in your content. But maybe on the flip side, all they care about is high-end construction, high-end design, things that are going to last the length of time. And so then that would be the core of your messaging.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, speak to this for a little bit. If you take a stand in your marketing as a particular individual or as a particular company, some people are afraid that they will repel people from doing business with them that could potentially do business with them. But I find often that the best marketing has that combination. It's magnetic in that it attracts and it repels. And so what I'm curious about is, do you ever find with your clients that they pick a particular brand identity based on their ideal client? So a brand voice based on their ideal client. And yet they still attract people that are not exactly their ideal client. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but they still attract work that's not directly related to that avatar or that ideal client. Does that ever happen?
Absolutely. Yeah, that happens all the time. And the reason that happens is because of the algorithm, right? So the algorithm is showing your content to these non-ideal audience members. But I would agree with what you said. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. So what we're looking for when we post content on social media is engagement. That is the first top of funnel element of like marketing conversion metric that we're really looking for is engagement. And the reason for that is because when someone engages with your content, it helps that piece of content be seen by more people and by them in the future. Like your future content will be seen by this person who is engaged with past content. This in turn increases your brand reach and your brand awareness, which helps your brand get seen by your target audience, right? Because the more people who are seeing it, the higher chance are that more people in that audience are of your ideal client. And so, especially on a platform like TikTok, for example, where engagement is the key marker of success, you're looking for engagement of both positive and negative. I would actually argue to say that negative engagement on a platform like TikTok will help you more than positive engagement. And I know that might sound really crazy, but when you get conversations started in the comment section of social media, your content is going to blow up. And so I wouldn't worry about being seen by the wrong people. I would worry if you're not being seen at all.
Let me just ask about that then. So, because as soon as you say that, I'm the CEO, and I'm like, hold on a second. I don't need anyone saying anything negative about my company. So if I post something on the internet about my company or a project, I don't want anyone going into the comments and saying, you build for that company? Those guys suck. They're X, Y, and Z, and this is why they suck. And I don't want any of that smoke. So how can I create content that, as you're saying, it gets a variety of engagement with perhaps some of that negative aspect? How do I create that without damaging my brand in the first place?
Well, there are a lot of quote unquote negative types of comments, right? So yes, one of them would be your client sucks. How could you work with them? They're horrible people. Obviously, that's not ideal. But another form of quote unquote negative comments or engagement could be, why'd you install that? Like, I hate how that looks. People on TikTok will say that all the time. They have no shame in their game. And what that does is that actually gives you an opportunity to create more content. So that gives you an opportunity to then reply to that comment with, here's why we did it like this. And what that does is establishes your leadership, your thought leadership, your authority, your expertise in your industry. And it gives you obviously an opportunity to negate that negative commentary, but also gives you more content to post about, and it helps you show up as an expert. So there are a lot of ways to approach it. To go down the path of negative comments, just because I know this may come up and this may be something that listeners have experienced, when you do get negative comments on social media, because you will at some point, it's inevitable, there are different approaches to take to that negative commentary. The one that I would recommend going down is replying always. Deleting that message or that comment that's publicly posted or not replying to it are two of the worst things that you could do. So engagers and users of social media want to feel seen. They want to feel that they're being heard.
Hold on. Let me ask you about that, Emma, real quick. So I posted something on LinkedIn, and I know I'm different from my clients and the people listening, but go with me here. And some dude gets on there and he's pitching me that his product in the comment, right? Really like this. You should contact me for my services. And so the first thing I do is I just delete that, because I have no interest in engaging someone like that who's pitching me in the comments on my social media post. Now, what you're saying, if I'm hearing you, is I shouldn't have deleted that. I should have replied to it in some way. Is that right?
In my opinion, yes. So that is another angle of comments and engagement. So being pitched in the comments, there's my perspective on it is if you reply back to that comment, you now have 2 comments on your post. So that shows higher engagement to the algorithm, which helps your content be seen. Is someone else who's going to consume that content going to be thrown off by the pitch in the comment on your post? No. We've all seen it. We've seen everything. That's not a negative reason for me to not then engage with your content. If it's super pitchy and it's just like so weird and obtruse, then yeah, like deleting the comment in that case makes sense. But the comments that I'm more so touching on is if someone comments like, you guys didn't get back to me for 3 weeks, like my product never arrived, or your guys never showed up on site. Like those are things we want to make sure are handled publicly and then handled privately as well. So there are different types of engagement.
Okay. So I'm the CEO of a construction company. I'm a $100 million company. First thing in my mind is I don't have time for social media, and I really don't have much time for marketing. I'm building my team. I'm meeting with important clients one-on-one. I'm working on strategy. How important is it for me as the CEO of the company to consider being the face of the marketing efforts that I have on social media?
Well, I'd agree with you. You don't have time for marketing. That is the reality, right? And you shouldn't have time for marketing if everything is going well. And that is why it's so important to have someone who specializes in marketing on your team, whether that is in-house or out of house. What that person should do for you is let you know exactly where you need to be involved. I believe that you, as the face of the company, should be the face of marketing as well. Now, that does not mean that you need to be the only face of marketing. Most of the time, our recommendation will always be to have your team be present on social media. The reason behind that is that your team is generally who is the face to your client. Are you able as the CEO to go to every project meeting, to be on every call? Absolutely not. And so your clients mainly are connecting with your team, meaning that if they know who they would be connecting with via social media before they even sign with you and you win that project, that gives them a sense of familiarity with your team and your company already. So having your team show up in your content would be step number 1. And then as the CEO, have your face infused in a certain percentage of your content throughout the month adds a cherry on top. So what we do for our clients is we will work with the team and determine, okay, this is maybe once a week, we're going to have a team focused post. There is a wide variety of ways we can get the team involved in the content, but maybe once a month or every other week, we have the CEO's face in that content. And if that's the case, then what we're doing is we are providing specific instructions to the CEO. We know how little time that you have on your hands to do this, and that it's going to be the last thing on your to-do list at the end of the day. So we're going to make it as easy as possible for you. Once a month, we're going to say, this is the exact video that we need you to do. Here's exactly how to show up in the video, what to say in the video. This should take you 10 minutes to record these 2 videos. Maybe that's because you're doing 2 takes for each of them, and then you'll be done for the month, and that's all we need from you. So I'd recommend finding a company or someone who can support you with that. Again, that's exactly how we work with our clients at 95 Media to really make it as easy as possible to show up, because your presence through your marketing is going to help make that content convert higher for you.
Hey, this is Eric. Hope you're enjoying my conversation with Emma. And I want to let you know that my book, Construction Genius, is totally awesome and you should buy it because it's effective, hands-on, practical, simple, no BS leadership, strategy, sales, and marketing advice for construction companies. If you're enjoying this particular episode on marketing, there are specific chapters in the book designed to help you with your marketing. And it's extremely important that you check that out. You want to turn your company into a predictable leads machine, market to the right clients with the right projects in the right locations, maximize educational marketing, and make sure that marketing is working in your business on a regular basis. So you can find a lot of advice in Construction Genius specific for construction companies to marketing, in addition to the leadership and the sales. Now, what you do is this. You go out to Amazon, you search for the book Construction Genius, you read all the killer 5-star reviews, and then you purchase 10 or more copies for you and your leadership team. When you do that, you then shoot me an email. And in the email, you say, Eric, I purchased 10 copies of Construction Genius. And I'll shoot you an email back and I'll say, terrific. Let's schedule a 1-hour question and answers and leadership development class with your team that we'll do over Zoom. Now, I would normally charge $3,500 for an hour of my time, but you have spent only about $190, maybe just a little bit more, because the paperbacks are $19.99. So if you buy 10 of those, it's less than $200. So for less than $200, you can get an hour of my time working with your team, answering any questions from the book, and giving you some bonus training. That is a killer value that you will find tremendously impactful for your company. So again, go out to Amazon right now and purchase yourself copies of the book Construction Genius. I promise you, you'll find it tremendously helpful. And now back to my interview with Emma. Okay, so there's some real good insights there, and I just want to make sure that everyone heard that. Number one is to diversify the people in your company who are involved in the social media marketing. And you can emphasize the CEO, but you can also emphasize the people involved in delivering the projects. Now, when it comes to construction, it may sound obvious, but I really like to make the point that you've got to get the folks in the field in your social media marketing. So in other words, you've got to get your foreman, your superintendents, really communicating through social media. And again, just like Emma was saying, that doesn't mean they have to do it. You can go out, you can send someone out to the job site with a phone and shoot some videos there with the guys along with the job site footage, and that can really be powerful. Second thing here is to make sure that you get a calendar of post types. That's really important. So a diversity of post types. Are you saying it ranges from both the media that you use and the content within the media? Or are you mainly emphasizing just video?
No, definitely both. So the content types, we actually call them content buckets. And these are really important to make sure that you have nailed down as a company going into having a really strategic social media marketing presence. So content buckets, I'd recommend having between 4 and 5 buckets that you're able to rotate through on a weekly or biweekly basis, just really depending on how often you're posting.
Okay, so give me the buckets. Give me an example of 5 content buckets.
Yep. So content buckets, one would be your team, and maybe your CEO falls into that, but maybe team is one of them and company is another. So team really shows your guys on the field doing the projects, et cetera, working with clients. Company is more along like your values, your mission, how you work as a company, your history, and then your CEO would likely fall into that one. Third could be before and afters, transformations, right? So here was this really ugly office and here's how we made it really beautiful. And here was the background on the project. Number 4 could be here is what makes us different, right? Like maybe it is more along the lines of the way that you approach projects, and utilizing storytelling in this as well will be really important. So maybe it's more like this client came to us and they had redesigned their space like 10 years ago. It was really not doing well, or maybe they had a flood or something like that, and they were moving into a new building. And you're telling the story of how you came in and what you did to make this a really great experience for them. That is going to highlight what sets you apart from your competition. And storytelling builds connection and trust with your audience. So in the before and after, you might be listening and saying, well, that's kind of similar to before and after. Before and after should be really focused on the visual. It should be like, here is this beautiful, stunning interior or exterior building, whatever, that is now the finished project. And don't you want this too? Type of thing. And then your storytelling really goes into that experience factor and what will set you apart against the other people bidding on this project.
Okay, so that's 4 buckets I've got there. Would a 5th one be like the personal posts? Is it appropriate to share something personal that's not directly business related, but maybe humanizes you a little bit?
Yes, that really goes back to the brand in particular, right? Like as a brand, how personal do you get? I would say typically you get more personal the smaller the team is. As your team gets really big, sometimes it gets a little less personal, but oftentimes a 5th content bucket could be more trend-based content, something more entertaining. So that could also infuse more of like that personal aspect of we're showing more faces. We are being a little bit more playful. As we all know, trending content on Instagram and TikTok is massive, and trending content will get you seen by more people because it's favored by the algorithm. So when you can have somebody who is just maybe a little bit more like loose and fun and doesn't really care that much about like their personal image on social, a younger guy is often a great person to kind of stick in front of the camera and do one of these funny videos. You're able to build kind of like a entertainment factor. And that entertainment factor is something that a lot of construction companies are missing on social media right now. And if you begin tapping into that, you will set yourself apart. And it's not going to look unprofessional. It's going to look like you know what you're doing on social media, because that's what consumers want from you.
Give me 3 ways that people are cringy on social media when it comes to their content. Speaking specifically of B2B content, what's cringy content that you should just stop doing if you're doing it?
Cringy content number 1 would definitely be you're weirdly personal and it's very obvious who's running your social media channel. So maybe it's like very obvious that the like HR person is running your social media channels. And so what they're talking about on social media is just like, here, like all they're talking about on social media is like, this is our team bonding event and we took a field trip here and we had a team lunch because it was someone's birthday, right? Like that's good in sprinkles, but that should not be the entire marketing content strategy. It's not a strategy is the reality. Number 2 is if you're only doing like photo content. So if you're just posting content that is obvious to someone watching that that project was done several years ago, it feels a little outdated, there's absolutely no video content, you're going to get scrolled by. No one wants to see just photo anymore. You mentioned, is this just video content that I'm talking about? And the answer is no. You should have an infusion of video, photo, and carousel content, meaning multiple photos in one post, because that will give more variety. So about 50% of your content should be video and the other 50% should be photo and or multiple photo posts. And that's going to help your content feel fresh.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So like old school SEO is put out there a blog post or a text post that is keyword rich. And that's how you're going to get found through the search engines. And you've been talking a lot about the algorithm. I think everyone knows sort of vaguely what the algorithm is. The algorithm favors video and image in many ways. What is the value at the moment, as we record this in 2024, of text that is properly constructed using keywords?
There's a lot of value. On TikTok, actually, your keywords in the text, in your video, and in your caption are how your videos are being found. So it's more prominent on TikTok because the algorithm is just smarter than on Instagram, which is kind of ironic because it's way newer than Instagram is. But that is absolutely how your content is being found. So the Instagram algorithm is catching up, and it is also going to be doing that probably within several months of recording this podcast. But the text that you're including in the captions of your videos, of the written text in the video, of the caption below the video, these are all ways that your content is being found. So it's very important that it's relevant to what you're saying. A big mistake people make was that on Instagram, and this was maybe 2 years ago, they were starting to include hashtags that were just kind of like big, but they weren't relevant to the video. And the algorithm was like, what in the heck is going on? Like, that doesn't make sense. So on Instagram, make sure that your hashtags are really relevant to your content, and that's going to help you. Over on TikTok, there are a lot of trending hashtags that actually could help you, and they're not so related to your videos. But at the core, make sure that your hashtags are related, because if someone is searching for a specific hashtag, you want to be shown and you want to be found. And hashtags are very, very prominent. They're going to help you. Some people don't think that hashtags are important anymore, and that could not be farther from the truth. Some of our clients' content gets 90% of the reach just from hashtags. So make sure that you're tapping into that strategy.
With the hashtag thing, you're speaking specifically there of TikTok and Instagram. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I know a lot of folks who are listening to this. I know a lot of them are on LinkedIn. And again, LinkedIn is dull. LinkedIn is boring. Sometimes it's very cringe, but the fact is it's effective for a lot of people, B2B. So the LinkedIn algorithm, they seem to change that sucker all the time. And one moment you can be getting tons of views and comments on your stuff, and the next moment it's crickets, right? What's your advice here in 2024 for approaching LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn, hashtags are not going to help you as much as they will on the other platforms. However, that's not a reason to not use them. I would use between 3, absolutely maximum 5 hashtags in your content on LinkedIn, but make sure that they are specifically for LinkedIn, because they will be different hashtags than the hashtags that you're using on other platforms.
Hold on. How do I know which hashtags to use on LinkedIn? How can I find that out?
Hashtags on LinkedIn. So you can look at the usage of hashtags on that platform just through like the search bar. That's a good place to start. But I would also say that you can be more broad with your hashtags on LinkedIn than on any other platform, simply because 95% of the users on LinkedIn are not creating content. So if you're of the very small percentage of users creating content on LinkedIn, you are already different and you are already going to be seen, which is why it's really effective for brands who are posting there. So you can use larger hashtags like construction or Ohio construction company. Like, those are hashtags that you would never use on Instagram because they just have billions of uses and you're never going to be seen there. But on LinkedIn, you do have a high chance of being seen. Another thing that you could be doing on LinkedIn, and I know a lot of companies are not doing this right now, is posting video content. There was this like rumor a little while ago that like video wasn't good on LinkedIn, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. It really does perform well because a lot of people aren't doing it. When you can stand out and do something different, you are going to be favored by the algorithm and people are going to consume that content. So I would recommend posting some of that short form content that you're maybe creating for other platforms over on a LinkedIn and see how it performs for you, because I would say it's probably going to do pretty well.
Okay. I want to do a quick pivot here because there's 2 sales that construction companies have to make, and both of them are really challenging, and perhaps one is more challenging than the other. The first sale I'm referring to is actually selling your work to potential clients or existing clients. The second sale is not often thought of as a sale, and that is recruiting people into your organization. So basically, you're selling them on coming to work with you, and everyone is aware of the labor crunch in construction and the shortage of skilled workers. What is the role of my social media marketing in terms of making that sale?
In terms of making the sale to potential employees or contractors, your social media couldn't be more important, because that is 100% without a doubt where those people are going to go to determine if they want to work for you. Yes, they're going to go to your website. They're going to look at the other people on your team. They're going to read your about page, and then they're immediately going to go to your social media, whether that is solely LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, they're going to be able to see everyone who says they work for you, and then they can go stalk those profiles as well, which is probably what they're also going to do. Maybe they're going to connect with someone else on your team and just be like, hey, what's your experience been like, right? They're going to consume that content. They're going to see the types of projects that you work on. They're going to read more about your values. They're going to see who is in your content. Is it all people of an older generation? Do we have diversity in ethnicities? Do we have diversity in gender? And they're going to see if they identify with the people on the other side of the screen. And that is going to be a huge factor in if they determine if they want to work with you or not, because that's going to be one of the few touch points that they have with your company prior to the interview or maybe after the interview with one person that they've had.
Okay. And so would you give the same advice in terms of the buckets of content when it comes to recruiting as you would to selling your services?
Yeah, because that profile that you're going to use is going to be for both purposes. So yes, it's mainly going to speak B2B and it's mainly going to be targeting who you're trying to sell to. But at the same time, the way that you represent your company to potential buyers should be aligned with how you represent your company to potential employees. So it should be attracting the right people on both ends.
So let's say I'm looking at my social media marketing and I know that it sucks and I need to upgrade. And all this time we've been talking here, Emma, we've been talking about organic marketing, not paid marketing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So, and just give us the quick difference between organic and paid, just so that everyone's clear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Organic content or organic marketing is when you're posting to social media with no money behind your content. Of course, you may be paying someone in-house to support you or an outside agency to support you, but you're not putting money in the platform behind the content. It is performing organically on its own. On the flip side, paid media is when you are either creating an inherent ad in something like Meta for Instagram and Facebook, and you are creating parameters on the back end, you're putting money behind the content to be seen for X number of days, or you are boosting a piece of organic content, meaning you're putting money behind a post that you previously posted organically in order to add momentum behind the content and be seen by a more specific audience who is genuinely like maybe a little bit more of your target audience. So the really big difference is, are we putting money behind the content? And just to kind of take it one step farther, you have to have your organic marketing in place and doing well before you can explore paid. So if you are someone who's maybe thinking, oh, like I've heard about paid ads, I think this may be something we want to do, make sure you are starting with organic and having that really down pat before you look at paid. Because if you start with paid before you pay attention to your organic, you're going to be dumping money really fast and not see the results that you're looking for.
Why is that?
That's because when someone finds your paid ad, they're likely, and you do want them going back to your profile, whether that's on LinkedIn or that's on Instagram. And if they're going back to really crappy content on that profile, and that's not aligned with the way that your ad is presenting your company, it's going to feel really wonky and that conversion is not going to happen. So you really want your organic content to be representative of your brand, bringing your content buckets to life and showing what you can do, and then making those ads aligned with the same values.
Excellent. That was very clear. Thank you. Okay. So my social media marketing sucks. I want to upgrade my game in the next year. Give me 3 things I need to focus on right now.
Number one thing to focus on would be to make sure that you have clarity on your brand voice and your ideal client. Like we said earlier, that's where you have to start. So if you need to hire someone to help you with brand strategy, make sure that your visuals are clear, make sure that you have this persona of who you're talking to really down, get that in place first. Number 2, make sure that you are putting a process in place to capture the content that you're going to need to post to social. Maybe that looks like hiring a part-time photographer or videographer to go to your job sites once a week and capture content for you. Begin building that bank before you need it. And number 3, make the right hire to support you to bring this to life. Don't try to make your PR person your marketing person. It's not going to go well and you're not going to see the results that you're looking for. So either bring someone in-house who can focus on it all the time or hire an outside agency. There are so many marketing agencies out there that can support you with this. Of course, I think 95 Media is the best at this because I'm a biased opinion, but that is exactly what we do. We work with large scale companies to come in and basically manage the entire marketing department on the digital side. So we help with all of the social media platforms. We can support with podcasting. We can support with email and really make sure that you have this cohesive messaging happening across all of your platforms that bring to life your brand in the best light possible on your social platforms. But having your brand voice, making sure you're getting the content, those are really step zero. And then hiring someone to come in and just bring it to stage is going to be that last successful step.
Okay, so let me ask you one last question. So one of the main things I do with my clients is executive coaching. And when someone contacts me and wants to do executive coaching with me, the first thing I will tell them, particularly if it's like the CEO and they're saying, hey, listen, I've got this executive that I want you to coach. The first thing I'll tell this person is, I may not be a fit for you guys. And there's some steps that we need to take before I'll even decide to engage with you guys, because I don't want to waste your time and money nor my time. So having said that, if I'm looking for an outsourced marketing agency, what are some of the things that I need to be looking for in order to make sure that not only are they capable of doing social media marketing, but we're a fit together as a company?
Definitely. Number one, you should be looking for is to make sure that they are proficient and experts on the platforms that you know you want to be on. So maybe it's you're coming into this relationship and saying, I know we want to be on LinkedIn. We've been on LinkedIn forever. It's not great. We want you to help us take it to the next level. And I also want your recommendations on other platforms we should be exploring. Tell me what you would recommend. They should be able to make a custom recommendation to you about which platforms you should be on and how frequently you should be posting on those platforms. That will showcase their expertise. If they're coming to you and saying, well, what we do for all of our clients is we get them on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the top 3. That's all you need to be on. You should be posting 5 times a week. That's it. Bang, bang, done. That's a red flag to me because that doesn't feel very custom. I want to know the why. Why do I need to be on Instagram and Facebook? Why 5 posts a week? Can you break that down for me? They should be able to answer these questions really easily if they know what they're doing. Number 2, can they help you with content creation and content strategy? So what I've seen with other agencies is that A, they're not able to actually film the content for you. And B, when they ask you to film content, which any agency will, that's not a red flag. They're going to ask you to film some content that you may not already have. What kind of guidelines can they provide to you to make that easy for you? They should make that process as easy as possible. Like I said earlier, if we're asking the CEO to film something, I'm going to tell you it's going to take this amount of time, show up wearing this outfit, say these things in the video, look at the camera, don't look at the camera. It's going to be really specific. We also can fly out to clients and film content with them in person. And oftentimes when we film in person, we're able to get like 2 to 3 months of content in like 3 hours. And that is a huge added bonus to finding an agency who can support you on that front as well. So if you know, maybe you don't have a videographer in-house, you're going to need someone to fly out every quarter and film some content together. Also be clear, do you want that to be on a professional camera and maybe a video camera, or are you okay with it doing that on iPhones? For us, we have seen iPhone photography and videography actually outperform professional content. And so when we do content shoots with our clients, we do it all on our phones. And you want to be clear on, does that align with your brand? If it doesn't, okay, cool. Then make sure that you have someone in-house to do that for you and maybe fly out your marketing team to support with the creative direction of the shoot, the content that they definitely want you to get, etc. And lastly, I would really speak about your goals. This is something that sometimes isn't shared with your marketing team and creates misalignment. If your goal is to grow a certain percentage that year or hit a specific number, make sure that you're telling that to your marketing team and get their feedback on that number. You might want to have 3 million followers by the end of the year. And if you say to that to your marketing team, if you're like at 10,000 followers right now and you're like, yeah, I want to be 3 million followers by the end of the year, all organic, let's do it. And your marketing team is like, sure, absolutely, no problem. Personally, I'd question that because that type of growth is a lot. And you want to make sure that that's a collaborative effort. Instead of saying just like yesing you to death, I would want to make sure that that's a conversation and they're giving you constructive feedback that sets realistic expectations. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you have one expectation, your team thinks it's a different expectation. And then after 6 months, you're just like, what in the world is going on? So make sure that you're providing clarity on your goals and that your team is aligned with them.
Excellent. That was very clear. So Emma, just tell us how we can get in touch with you and where we can find you on your socials and all that kind of good stuff.
Absolutely. So I'm the founder of 95 Media, if that wasn't clear already. We're a digital marketing agency specializing in organic media. And we have our website, 95media.co, has all of our information. I'm also active on every single platform under the sun, so you can find us anywhere under 95 Media. Just spell it all out. Instagram is definitely where we're the most active. So if you have any quick questions, you want to send us a DM, you can also email us through Instagram as well. But my email is hello@95media.co. I'd love to chat about how we can support with your social media marketing, specifically on the organic side, to really scale and help you see those results. Because what we see more often than not is that brands are posting, and not seeing the actual ROI that they want to see. And that's always our focus for the brands that we work with. So I'd love to connect if this was helpful and you're interested in chatting further.
Beautiful. Emma, this was helpful. A lot of insight here, a lot of takeaways. And I appreciate you joining us today on Construction Genius.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening today to Construction Genius. That was a great interview with Emma. Lots of key takeaways there. Feel free to check out the transcript on my website, constructiongenius.com. Go to the podcast page and you'll find a full transcript that you can look at. You can download it to ChatGPT if you like. And then in ChatGPT, ask, give me the top 5 insights from the transcript. And that will spit out for you an answer where perhaps you can look at that and use and apply it in your company in terms of improving your marketing. Speaking of improving your company, think about executive coaching. That's what I do with a lot of my clients. So I'll have the CEO of a company call me and say, hey, listen, I've got this guy in my company. He's been with me for many years, but he's hit a ceiling. And the ceiling typically is not technically based, but it's based on his behavior because he's been promoted to a place where he's leading a team of people and he knows how to build projects, but he doesn't know how to build teams of people. And an executive coach can be a tremendous resource for that type of person if they're coachable, because they can provide a sounding board for your executive, helping them to figure out some of the issues that they have both behaviorally and relationally, and hold them accountable for specific actions that they're going to take to improve their leadership. So if you have someone in mind who has hit a ceiling and you'd like to see them go beyond that ceiling and really achieve their full potential, an executive coach may be a fit for you. So this is what you do. Go to my website, constructiongenius.com/contact, and then just give me a quick message in there. It'll hit my email. I'll respond to you within 24 hours, and we can set up a short 10-minute conversation to figure out if or how I can help you. If it turns out I can help you, then we can book in another time to talk in more detail about how. All right. Thanks again for listening to Construction Genius, and I'll catch you on the next episode.